What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel, and welcome to another 2020 college football schedule breakdown and record prediction video. Today, I'll be doing the Florida State Seminoles, an ACC team. The Seminoles used to be towards the top of college football, but for the past few years, they just haven't been that great. They've been okay, but nothing special. Last year, they just made a bowl game with a 6-6 record, and they lost in that bowl game in the Sun Bowl to Arizona State. The scoreline was only they lost by 6, but really they just were not good in that game. Arizona State really dominated. Florida State only scored in one quarter of the entire game. But Florida State had a pretty good offseason. They hired former Memphis head coach Mike Norvell, who is a fantastic coach when it comes to offense. When he was at Memphis, he was scoring consistently about 30 or 40 points a week. So that will definitely help Florida State's offense improve, in my opinion. They have quarterback James Blackman and wide receiver Tamarian Terry on that offense, some good pieces right there. And then their defense has the pieces to be good as well, with Marvin Wilson, the defensive tackle, Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback, and safety Hamza Nasir Ildeen. So Florida State is like a puzzle this year for me. They have all the pieces to be good, most of the pieces to be good, but they just need to put them all together, and if they can do that, they can be a serious contender. They do play in the same division as Clemson, which is going to be tough, but if they can be able to put those puzzle pieces together, they can be a good team this year. So they went 6-7 last year, like I said, and their recruiting class was okay. It was ranked the 22nd best in the country. So they started off with a game that most people would consider to be pretty easy, even though they're on the road. They're playing West Virginia. West Virginia is a team that I'm very, very low on this year. I just don't think they're great. They haven't been great. They weren't great last year, and I just don't think they're going to be great again this year. But I do think Florida State will struggle in this game just because they have a new coach now, some new players. I just feel that they're going to struggle early in the season, especially on the road. I still do think they should be able to get the win, but I think it's going to be closer than some people might expect, and they will struggle here. Like I said, though, they should still be able to get the win. They're definitely the better team. I do think they will win. I just think it's going to be closer than some people might expect just because it's a new season, new coach. It's going to take some time to get used to it, especially with what's going on in the world right now where with the limited practices, it's going to be a tough start to the season, in my opinion. For Florida State, but I do think they will win. Week 2, this should be an easy win against Stanford. And even though this is early in the season, I think Florida State can put up a lot of points in this game just because Mike Norvell's offense obviously is so good, and Stanford just isn't that good of a football team. So Florida State should just be able to put up a lot of points in this game. And I feel like Mike Norvell really isn't gonna. I kind of feel like he won't take out his starters in this game, even if they have a big lead, because I feel like he wants to show, or he wants to be able to make sure this team can score the points. And sure, it is against Stanford, but I think it should. I think he might keep the starters in at least a bit later than some people might expect. But this should be a very big win for them. Maybe a 50-point win, somewhere around that. I think that's reasonable, honestly. So that should be a very easy win. And they should win against West Virginia, so I think it's a pretty easy 2-0 start to the year. Week 3 is when their schedule starts to get interesting. They're playing against Boise State, and this is going to be a tough one. Boise State is a good football team. I don't think there's anything you can say saying that that's wrong. Boise State is a good football team and most likely will be a good football team this year. But Florida State's also a good football team, so this game could go either way. But Boise State is the home team in this one, which is huge for them, and it's early in the year, and I do think Florida State will struggle a bit early in the season. Even though I do think they'll beat West Virginia, I think they'll struggle a bit. So I just feel like Boise State will probably win this game. If Florida State's at home, I'm taking Florida State. If this game's later in the year, I'm taking Florida State. But just where it's placed, where it's being played at, the odds are in Boise State's favor. Both two very talented football teams. I think there's a better chance that Boise State wins this game. So I'm leaning towards them at the moment. Florida State could win. I feel like it's a lot more likely that Boise State will win, just because of how their schedule's set up. Week 4, they have a bye, which is an interesting place to bye because it's coming off a tough game, which is good, and it's going into a road game, which is good. Their first in-conference road game. Or their first in-conference game, and it's on the road. So just based on that, it's a pretty good place. But it's the 4th week of the year, which just is not good at all. Not good for Florida State, not a very well-placed bye. They are coming off a tough game. They're going into a road game, but it's just not a tough game. Or it's just not a well-placed bye, in my opinion. Week 5, they have their first in-conference game of the year at NC State. NC State is a team I think will take a step back this year. I mean, maybe they'll take a bit of a step up, but probably about the same where they were last year. They really were not good last year, and I don't think they'll be good again. Maybe they can win one more game than last year, but I really do still think it'll be somewhere between 3 to 5 wins this season. So I'm just not expecting much from NC State this year. And even though it's a road game for Florida State, I feel like they're going to have more piece figured out at this point, and coming off a bye, I think Florida State should be able to get a pretty easy win here. Week 6 is a game I just don't think they're going to win. They're playing against Clemson, and sure, they are at home, which means maybe they can make it closer. Also, Clemson's losing Justin Ross, so maybe they can make it closer there. But Clemson is just too good, and Florida State can give them a good challenge because they're at home, I think, but I just don't think they're going to win. Clemson is too good, one of the best teams in college football. In my opinion, it's between them and Ohio State, and I just don't see Florida State winning. I can really see them putting up a good fight. I can see it being a close game. I just can't see Florida State winning. So it helps that they're at home, but like I said, Clemson's too good in my opinion. Week 7, they have a home game against Wake Forest. If this game was on the road, it would be a lot more interesting in my opinion, just because Wake Forest has some pieces, like Sam Hartman, their quarterback, but they are losing a lot. So I feel like on the road, Wake Forest isn't going to be great this year. I still think they're going to be okay at home this season, but I feel like they're going to struggle in this game on the road against Florida State. I think Florida State should be able to get a pretty easy win here. Week 8, very tough game in my opinion, at Louisville. Louisville is a team I'm very high on this year. They have one of the best trios on offense in college football with quarterback Malik Cunningham, wide receiver Tutu Atwell, and running back Javian Hawkins. Definitely some of the better skill position players in college football. There are some holes on the defense, but I still expect Louisville to be a good team this year. So I could see this game going either way, if I'm honest. I do think Louisville's a bit better than Florida State, and it helps that Louisville's at home. But I could see Florida State getting an upset here, just because they're coming off a pretty easy game, and they should probably have a lot of things figured out this year, this point in the year. Mike Norvell will probably be able to get that offense going, and if the pieces on the defense can really work together, this could be a win for Florida State, but it could also be a win for Louisville. So it's going to be an interesting game. I'm actually very excited for it. And it could go either way, in my opinion. Week 9 is a game that also could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Florida State at the moment. It's against Pitt. Pitt is a team I expect to be pretty good this year, pretty competitive in the ACC, but I don't really see them. I mean, I could see this being a close game, but I just don't really think they will win against Florida State. I think Pitt will be better this year, like I said. Well, maybe not better, but still a good team. So this game is interesting because Florida State's at home. I think Florida State will have a lot of pieces figured out at this point in the year. So I think there's going to be trouble for Pitt here. I think Pitt is a good team, don't get me wrong. But there are just definitely some holes on that team. And I feel that Pitt will be able to beat Florida State in my opinion. Florida State will be able to beat Pitt. Just because they're at home. And I just feel Florida State's the better team. Pitt is a good team. Pitt can make it a good game. It should actually be a pretty entertaining game in my opinion. But I just think that Florida State is the better team, so I'm going to take Florida State there. Week 10, they have another tough road game at Miami. Miami is going to improve this year with De'Ara King coming in, the transfer quarterback from Houston, who was very good 2 seasons ago, but didn't play much last year. So he's going to be an interesting player to see. Will he struggle in a new system, or will he play like he did in 2018? I'm kind of leaning towards right in the middle at the moment. Nothing special, but not bad either. So this is an interesting game because it really, two teams similar on talent. Maybe you can make an argument Miami's a bit better. Maybe you can even make an argument that Florida State's a bit better. So this game could go either way, in my opinion. It's tough to predict. Some of these games are tough to predict. At Louisville, Pitt's kind of tough to predict. At Miami, and then at Boise State. These are some tough games to predict. I kind of am leaning towards Florida State at the moment. I could see Miami winning, but just at the moment, I feel that Florida State is a bit of a better team. But like I said, Miami could win. I would not be surprised if that's the case. But at the moment, I am leaning towards Florida State. Week 11, I don't see them having much of a challenge here. At home against Boston College. It's going to be a down year by Boston College standards. They're just losing so much. They're losing their head coach too. So it's just not going to be a good year for Boston College in my opinion. And I don't see this being too close of a game just because Florida State's at home. So I think that Florida State should get a pretty easy win in this one. Not much of a challenge for them there. And then week 12, they're on the road against Syracuse. Syracuse is a tough place to play. But I still think that Florida State should be able to get the win just because Florida State is definitely better than Syracuse. And Syracuse is just missing pieces. They have Eric Dungy, but other than that, there's not much else. There are some other good pieces, but not too many pieces. So I think it should be a win for Florida State. And then week 13, they play Florida. Florida is one of the better teams in college football. Florida State's lucky to have them at home, and I think it will be closer this year than it was last year. But I just think it'll be Florida. Florida is so much better than Florida State, in my opinion. Even though it's a home game for Florida State, I just think Florida's the better team, and I am leaning toward them in that one. So now, as I always do, I'll go through every game once again, and I'll give my prediction for who I think will win. Week 1 against West Virginia, I think Florida State will win. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll win. Week 2 against Stanford, that is a big win in my opinion. Week 3, I have them losing to Boise State at the moment. They could win that game, but I do have them losing. Week 4, they have a bye. Week 5, I think they'll beat NC State. Week 6, I think they'll lose to Clemson. They're lucky to have them at home, but I just think they'll lose at the moment. Week 7, I think they'll beat Wake Forest. Week 8, I think they'll lose at Louisville. I just think Louisville is a very good team, and on the road, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them. Week 9, Pitt, I think that's a win. Week 10, Miami, I'm going to give them a win. It could be a loss, but at the moment I have winning. I'm beating Boston College and Syracuse, and then I've losing to Florida to give them a record of 8-4 on the year. So for me, they have 5 games they could lose, and I originally had them at 7-5. I do think they will lose to Florida and Clemson. It helps that those games are at home, but I do think they will lose. And then they have the 3 road games at Boise State, at Miami, and at Louisville. Originally, I had them losing all 3 of those, but I'm going to give them a benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that they're going to win one of them. And currently, I think they'll beat Miami. But for me, it's that they're going to beat either Miami, Louisville, or Boise State, and they'll lose the other 2 to give them a record of 8-4. So it's going to be a good season for Florida State, in my opinion. Maybe they can sneak into the top 25. I don't know. Maybe. Definitely, they do have the pieces. Like I said, they're just like a puzzle. Just need to put them together. If they can put those pieces together, this can be a good team this year. But at the moment, I have them at 8-4. So, they just have a lot of road games. Their 2 toughest games are at home, and then their 3 next toughest games are all on the road. If they were at home for some of those games, I feel like it would be a lot easier to not just predict their schedule, but for them to get the wins. But those are my thoughts on the Florida State Seminoles for this year. What are your guys' thoughts? Tell me in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new in here, feel free to subscribe for more daily NFL and college football content. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.